This is about, well, I'm not going to say it, and I'm not going to print it out in the title because I can't. I hope you watch it anyhow. I'm going to put this on a few websites and playlists. It's July 4th, 2016, according to the mainstream calendar, so-called Gregorian calendar. Not a very accurate schedule of things. It's very fictional and only useful for business. So, I did a search. Let's look at the text first so you get patient with me, because I know the pictures are more fun. But I'm going to show myself. Let me show myself here so you know who you're dealing with. Woohoo! There I am. See me down there? So you can read. You're reading as I'm babbling along. Yeah. What World War II can teach us about radical Islam? World War III End Times Prophecy Report. Prophecy Update. Let's read what they've got to say. ISIS, or ISIL, Islamic State, suffered further setback on Sunday when the Iraqi town of Fallujah was... Dead body is discovered after World War II without photographs. What? Oh. Iraq takes back Fallujah from the Islamic State. End Homeland Security. On June 26th, the month-long war with Iraq and the Islamic State officially ended, and the country now has control over Fallujah. Well, so it's saying that the war is over. The Fourth World War. World War III news. And that's the thing, like, how are we going to count? Are we going to count from the way that history is counting it? Are we going to count like those textbooks? Yeah, right. Here, check this out. This is saying that we're in a bloody war. America must destroy Islamic State. Opinion, New Jersey. I assume it's New Jersey, NJ.com. ISIS started World War III years ago, but apparently no one in the Obama administration noticed. This is so dumb. Right away you can tell it is anti-democratic party. Everybody knows, who has half a brain, that the World War III that they're talking about, or should be talking about from this mindset, but they're really... I don't even have to read the rest. You know why? Because it's very clear cut. Their narrative should be that September 11th, 9/11 started the war with the Patriot Act and the declaring of war in that September 2001 with, who was it? George W. Bush Jr. Of course, the Obama administration noticed because they were handed the baton in a very cooperative way. It's the two-headed beast, two-headed dog, some kind of a pit bull mix. Of course they know. Jacob versus Esau. Of course they know. I just released this. Brotherly conflict. You know, somebody was just writing about the Germans being so similar in ideology to the Jews of the modern state of Israel. Somebody was saying that. Not just saying it. It was Alice A. Bailey, the author. Spiritual, mystical somewhat connected with Theosophy. I don't know if should I say that she was officially with Theosophists? Alice Bailey was saying that because on a spiritual level, the German people of today, currently, and for a while now, are basically brothers or cousins. They are the same people. That's why they had the quarrel with the Jews. And I don't know what she was saying about the British in relation to that, because supposedly the British are propping up the Germans too. I mean, it's all a family squabble because we all come from Adam. We're different lineages that branch off. It's a family tree. But check this out. Let's look at the pictures here. Moscow has a Muslim problem. Okay. Show the Middle East a lot. I also heard something that Putin was titanicized, and titanicized means that he was deep sixed, or he was. They do this to a lot of people, supposedly. Speaking of the who was I just mentioned, they're very organized, and they have covert operations, psyops. It's not even just psyops. It's like where they disappear people. Is this guy even real? Here, that's Putin? No, it slightly looks like him. So Putin, at the beginning of the war to split up Ukraine, and when that whole conflict started, we're going back to the late winter in 2014, right? 2014. There was an operation. It's stated in this article that I read that Putin disappeared for 10 days. Maybe he had to hide. You know, he had secret conferences. He took a vacation. You know, for intelligence or security reasons, he was just off the radar. But here's another explanation, that maybe that he was like kidnapped, according to infiltration of the government around him. His security people were infiltrated. They were double agents. Okay, so this is not too far-fetched. This can happen. This has happened in history. We can talk about things like this happening in America. So who is the Putin now that you see? There's a guy going around. It's a doppelganger. What about who's the other guy? We know that Saddam Hussein had doubles. We know that he did. So these are the winds of change that are going on. It's like it's just a starting point question to say, is the war going on? It's a starting point. Islamic Jihad. And here's the other question. Where's the funding come from? Where does it come from? Is it coming from Islamics? Where do they get the money from? Well, you could say it's indirect funding because it's oil money, oil wars. How do you think these things fly? Without that, you can't have this. It's fuel. Then this is the fuel for the bombs. So it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy how everything is connected that way. I also heard basically from the same source stating that who are these people that are running around. I think it's pretty clear, even though you don't know exactly who's doing the secret deals and who's negotiating or say, hey, I want you to do this, I'm going to give you the money. Other than that, like, where do these people come from to do the beheadings and all that? Where do they come from? He said that they're descendants of the Turks. They are inspired by that, the terrible Turks, the Turks of many centuries there. Not ancient, because before that they're run by the Persians. So there could be like a more longer term connection, because you remember the Persians, how they showed that in the movie 300. But the Greeks were so much more, defeated them. But the Persians then gave way. There are very different phases of history, but you get to the Ottoman Turks eventually. And you have these guys with such tactics of war. Are they Khazarians from Khazar? See, I've heard this other thing, that they are really closely tied in with the Khazarians. They are brought in from that same Central Asian area of that empire that had gone on, which is involved with the Muslims, and then it became secular, I guess, after a while. By the way, they defeated the Tibetans a long time ago, around somewhere between 900 and 1000 or 1100 AD. So it was like I don't know if it's the two century period. There was a high point of it where the Muslims had their own horde, like the Mongol horde. The Muslims came through. They had swept through what's now Iran. It was the ancient Persian area, and they had swept through. They created the Mughals in India, and they went up into Tibet, which was a very powerful at the time, and they just destroyed everything. They're uncivilized. They're barbaric, and this is just the latest manifestation of it. But what is of concern is that what we tend to call the free world is very tied in with all this. Just like you could ask the question, almost like symbolically, like something that was quintessential. Osama bin Laden. Who trained him? Who was covering up for him? Why has Saudi Arabia not been attacked? And why is there no vengeance on them? It's almost like the opposite. It's like continued loyalty and alliance. The Saudis, now that the reports have been released, all those extra pages, remember the stuff that was like covered up and hidden, 9/11 was an inside job. Yeah, it was inside job because it was coordinated mostly through the Saudis. It's a total collaboration, collusion. The training, the funding, the Saudis, I've heard so many times in the past year that the Saudis are going to fall. They've got a big problem. There's a family squabble. Why? It's just it's desperation and chaos. What's happening today? The Saudis just got hit with, I think, 4 terrorist attacks. They even went around the U.S. consulate. Medina was hit. The city of Medina. This is really the report of today. That's why I'm talking about all this. It's all fulminating around there. That is very much a central area to this. But it's not the only area. Now we got to talk about Bangladesh in the last 48 hours. Big hit. But because of the holiday that's going on in the United States, I think it's just dampened down. What's going to happen in this country? I don't know. The security is so like tight, and everybody's awareness is like preventing it. But things are cooking up. It's not just Orlando, though, and there's a lot of suspicion about Orlando. Not that it's a hoax, not that it's totally fabricated, but that it's false flag. The fingerprints, the red flags are all over it. Red flags that it's a false flag. And then Judge Napolitano went on the record. He was on the network stating the facts. Nobody was killed by Omar Mateen until he took hostages. He was making this point. He wasn't planning on doing such a slaughter. This is friendly fire. The killings didn't happen until the SWAT teams entered the building about 3 hours later. From 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., approximate window there, to the 5 a.m. they started coming in, blasting, just shooting people against the concrete wall. Some section of the club there, the facility where people were held hostage, if indeed they were, and who held them hostage. Well, the decision was to go in there, and then you want to mourn all these people. Oh, these defenseless people shot by this lone wolf, sleeper cell, or whatever you want to call it. He had protection. He had coverage. He didn't do this on his own. There's no such thing as a lone wolf. And it's not just the cover story. It's not just the official narrative that he's ISIS connected. What is the connection and the blurring of the line that's going on here? It's an inside job. The different police agencies and paramilitary within the United States, the different factions, FBI and so on and so forth. Who's doing what? So there's a lot of questions. I'm not just going to state, oh, I know this, because I don't look at it that way. I don't spend all my time sifting through details and saying that I can prove it because of this. Nothing really can be proven as far as I'm concerned. Not on that level, not with that kind of evidence. What can be proven is that there's a greedy, filthy, immoral game going on that's being played for the money. That's why it's being done. That's why these hits, these attacks are being done. That's why they control the media to stir up the confusion and the fear. A security state, a police state. Nations fighting nations. But the main thing here is that sovereign nations, quote-unquote sovereign nations of the United Nations, or official ones, Security Council, superpowers, the G20, these ones, each individually on their own soil, is supposed to be fighting terrorists. Terrorists are the ones that are going against them, their sovereignty, or their established state, their oligarchy. But where's the plutarchy? The plutarchy working with the oligarchy. Who's calling the shots? Are there four horsemen? And on the spiritual level, what's going on and why am I talking about it? Why should I be concerned? Who am I to be going into this? Am I some armchair quarterback at home, enjoying the luxury and the comfort of my American laissez-faire YouTubing? I guess that's all it is. It's just lame. I'm just here, and like it or not, you don't see me carrying a gun around and taking part of it, doing my thing, to where I can earn the right to talk. No, you don't see me. You would never think about that. Sooner or later, we're all going to be pulled to the destiny that's coming. So I'm just going to leave it with that. I hope you know what I'm talking about. I hope you know who you're with. And if you don't, you're going to find out.